Welcome to A Lunch with Biggie, a podcast about small business and creatives sharing their stories and inspiring you. My guest today loved fashion and wanted to design his own stuff and started reselling clothes, and in time evolved into a passion for watches. Please welcome the man behind Time to Get Thrifty, Tommy Phantharangsy. What's going on, Tommy?
Nothing much, man. Just here with you, ready to chat.
I love it, dude. I love it. Thanks for having a lunch break with me. I always like to ask the question, what's your go-to lunch or sandwich?
So my go-to sandwich, I don't really get too many sandwiches, but like if I do, I really love a good like chicken parm. Like it's really hard to mess it up, but I feel like honestly at the end of the day, you can mess it up.
Yeah.
Like I've been to a couple places where I'm like, oh, this is not the best.
And then since you don't usually typically get sandwiches, what do you typically have for lunch? Like what's your usual typical lunch or go-to lunch?
My typical go-to, like my favorite food is pho.
Okay.
So like I don't know if you ever had pho. Like I'm huge. I would say I'm a pho connoisseur.
Okay.
But I definitely love a good bowl whenever I can. Even if I'm out of state, I'll definitely try it because like it's different. Everybody makes it different. Like, you know, it's not all the same. It's not too consistent depending on where you go. So like I like to try the different places and see like who has the best. And honestly, the best has been like I'd say Denver. Denver has hands down the best pho I've ever had.
Wow. All right. So since we're dropping it, I'm assuming you're gonna give me a small business or a place. Where do you usually get pho at in Orlando?
My favorite place in Orlando would probably be, so my go-to is Pho Vin. I don't know if you ever heard of Pho Vin. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's right over there. I mean, off of East Colonial, basically. I think Primrose or something like that. But that is my best place. I will bring people there. My parents love it too. But I've recently gone to Pho Bar. Pho Bar is also a really fire one.
Okay.
They make all their noodles fresh and stuff. I'm a big foodie, so like I could talk about food all day. They have fresh noodles that they do in-house. They don't use the packaged stuff. You can if you ask them for it. And they also have this really big like short rib pho, which is like just a giant short rib bone inside the pho.
So Tommy, I'm kind of curious, like what kind of led to all this for you to want to actually start Time to Get Thrifty and to kind of do reselling and all of that?
So I wanted to do clothing design initially, and the thrifting thing was kind of a stepping stone. But the clothing design was really big, and it was a big passion for me to start because it was related to like my culture. I'm Lao, and I wanted to do something for the younger generations because everybody's super part of their culture nowadays. But the thrifting thing again was like stepping stone. So my first pop-up was out in 407 Fleet with Grant, and that was in May of 2023, I believe. And I was still working at the time, like doing stuff for, you know, whatever my main job was. And that pop-up was like kind of my first initial like jump into it. But I actually officially started doing it full time in October of 2023 because I was let go from my job. And it was like one of those things where I was like a little devastated about it. But it was kind of a relief off my shoulders. And it was crazy because like it was a big push into it. And you know, I kind of appreciate my girlfriend for having me be like, hey, you have this that you started already. Like just do it full time and see how it goes. Cause I was pretty annoyed about it. Like it definitely put a wrench in a lot of things when I lost my job. And it was crazy because like they asked me 2 weeks later to come back because they were like, hey, I made a mistake. Like, I didn't realize like how much you did, et cetera, because I managed an eye doctor's office, and they were like, "We need you back," and I was like, "I'm sorry, no, like, there's no way," because like you have to deal with the decision you made.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, I kind of just fully did the thrifting thing, put myself out there, and then eventually did more markets. Started hanging out with Grant, and then now like we've grown into like this whole business with watches and everything, and the traveling aspect has been really good too. Like last year we did so much traveling that we kind of
have done more traveling. I know I saw you and Grant doing a lot more traveling last year, but it seemed like they've all been kind of great because I always like to see where you guys eat afterwards, because if you do really well, usually there's good eating involved when you guys do well.
The markets are just, it's like a reward, you know, like you have to reward yourself for a hard day's work. But I mean that's my main thing too. Like when I travel, like I'll research food, like places to eat, like outside, like on vacation. But as far as this, like, yeah, we'll just go and we'll do stuff and then explore the city a little bit wherever we're at. And then we'll start eating, you know, at places that are like the go-tos supposedly. But we definitely have our frequent flying spots that we definitely visit because of like some of this events are all in the same town sometimes.
That's awesome, man.
So that's where the thrifting came in. And I always liked clothing. I like fashion and stuff. And just like the thought of like getting clothing that had a previous history, giving it another life in somebody else's hands, saving it from the landfill, like all that, like that
Yeah.
was definitely a big part of it too. Because like, you know, you buy stuff anywhere, like H&M, the Disney store even, and you touch the material, it's so much different than the material that was used previously. I
Yeah.
sold a bunch of like old Disney sweaters and stuff, and you know, I go to Epcot and I'll go check out the sweaters. Like the material is not great.
It's not the same.
Like it's still stuff that'll
Yeah.
ruin in a couple of years, and then you have to go buy a new one. Like that's everybody's model now. It's all fast fashion, and that's the
Yeah.
sucky part because like now that just fills, you know, landfills.
Correct. What do you think was the first like thrift find that you made that you're like, oh, I think I have something here, or I think I can make something out of this?
My first thrift find. So that was the hard thing about it. Like I wasn't necessarily looking at anything specific, or I found anything specific that was like, oh my god, like I'm gonna do this. I was like, all right, clothing, thrifting's pretty big. Let me just try that. And then the more I got into it, the more like I looked at trends, what people were buying. It's just like, you know, the stock market. You know, whatever's hot, the hot item you're gonna do. But I found that doing that for myself, like I didn't enjoy it as much, I'd say. I personally like picking up pieces that I thought looked nice, like that I would wear personally, or like I feel like somebody would have the same taste. So like I didn't try to follow trends too much, because like, you know, at the end of the day, like you follow a trend and the trend's gone, like now you're holding the bag, like you have all this inventory or whatever it is, and it's gonna be a harder move, and you'll probably sell it at a loss. So like I kind of curated it more to my personal style, or like what I knew was gonna kind of like not fall out of trend, what I knew wasn't gonna fall out of trend, and then I eventually just kept going with that, and it worked out. Like people were always like, oh, like it was really nice to hear, because like at first I was like really scared to do it, but it was nice to hear when people were like, oh, like I really like the curate, like all the pieces that you picked out, you have really cool pieces. Yeah, so it was really nice to hear people talking about it, just because I was always in my head when I first started. Yeah, it was pretty bad. Like as is anything with like starting a business. Like I felt like it was like really bad days, and I was like, man, this sucks.
Was there anything you were originally like leaning towards? Like how did you go from originally doing clothes to then kind of leading to the idea of, hey, I'm going to start doing watches and timepieces?
So actually, I officially started, like my first market ever was like 2023 with like with Grant at 407 Flea. So like that was a deep dive into it. And then I was doing the clothes for a bit, did the pop-ups, and then eventually I was like, what else can I sell that people would buy? And you know, living in Orlando, I'm like, oh, like let me buy some Disney watches, because I saw them all over the place, you know.
Yeah.
Like let me buy Disney watches and maybe like a couple of random pieces here and there, but mainly Disney watches, and see how that goes. Fast forward, I started doing the watches, I think officially around October of 2024. Okay. So I was like well over a year of me like already doing this, and like it was good. Like it wasn't like the best, like how it is now. Obviously, like, you know, growing into it, like I fell in love with it. So then I expanded my stuff. But yeah, starting out it was just Disney watches. It was just like to feed the Disney fanatic, the Disney adult that's out here. And it was great. People loved it. And I eventually like moved into the other ones, and I fell in love with it as well. So I said I started in 2024 with the watches, and I feel like I really dived into it maybe like the beginning of 2025.
Okay.
So that was really when I like started picking out other stuff, like different designs. I'm a big Seiko fan. Seiko's a Japanese brand, but like I love Japanese culture for one, but that was just like another thing to add on to my love for Seiko. It just has such a wide range of prices for everybody. It's a good entry watch. I'm not here to buy Rolexes and sell them, you know, like that'd be cool eventually. But like I personally, moving from thrifting clothes to watches, it was a slower transition when I sourced stuff, because I used to just get a bunch of like random watches and sell it. Now I'm very picky about like what I pick up because I know what's going to move fast and what doesn't. But it kind of made it easier just doing it versus just being like, oh, like, is this going to sell? Is it not going to sell? And then eventually, like, when I started pivoting into watches and doing a lot more Seikos and like whatnot, it brought more customers in, different customer that I would usually have than the clothing.
Yeah.
So then like that kind of like opened my eyes into like what I should get for that.
So few things I'm curious of. So
Yeah.
let's go with, if someone now in present time were to come up, sees you at a market and sees, time to get thrifty, when they come up, what should they expect to be seeing, like, of product wise? Because obviously I think you still do some resale clothing, but you also, majority of it also is watches. So like, what can they expect to see? Like, if someone were to be like, hey Tommy, I'm gonna come see you, what am I gonna see when I come see you at a market?
So I changed my tent layout up so many times. I think when I first did the layout with the watches, like I had it in the back, and that's where I usually had my table, and I had the racks of clothes in the front. Now, after a really bad market in December, and I was like, this is December, like it should be really bad, or it should be really good, I moved my watches to the front. So now when you come to my tent, you're gonna see basically an L-shaped table. The front table is gonna have all of the watches that are, I'd say, under $50 or so, and they're nice pieces. I clean them up, I replace the batteries. There is a small, tiny section of watches that do not work that I still sell, but that's because a lot of people just wear it as a bracelet. It's a piece of jewelry. So I still bring some of those out. I not necessarily don't bring out too many of those, because I don't want it to take up too much space away from everything else. I want people to have a working piece of a working timepiece. I don't want them to just wear a watch to wear a watch, which, don't get me wrong, that's fine. But I have that in the front, and then the side table next to me, I have my display cases. So I have a couple of display cases of watches that are going to be like a little bit more expensive. I'd say 50 plus. Like that's the easiest way for me to separate everything and keep track of it. Because like I don't want just like expensive stuff sitting on the table. And it's just like more curated, nicer timepieces in there that are more like heavily sought after. A little bit more valuable, a little more rare, especially in working condition. I had like maybe one or two watches in there that don't work, and those specifically are just super rare. Even non-working, they're worth a couple $100. So I let people know right off the bat, like, hey, this isn't working. I like to be upfront. Like I take pride in the watches.
Yeah,
I definitely feel like that differentiates me from everybody else who does watches, because I have working pieces. That huge selection or curation of different categories definitely puts me apart from the rest. I've heard it from a lot of people that come in, or like a lot of customers and stuff, and it's really nice to hear. Again, positive affirmations, right? But like that is really, I do see that, because like I've gone to markets where I've seen people do watches, and don't get me wrong, like anybody can do whatever they want, anybody can price anything whatever they want. At the end of the day, it just brings the right person to buy it, right? And I feel like my prices are pretty good. Like I feel like they're pretty spot on for like the value of the watch and rarity and like demand, and I try to be like pretty close or right under market, just because like I want to move it. I'm not here to keep the watch forever. I'll work out deals and stuff for bundles, but I've gone to markets where I'm like, wow, I wouldn't sell this watch working at this price. It's crazy. But I've definitely caught some pretty good deals, because people, they're just selling it to sell it.
Yeah.
They're not like really looking into it and diving and learning.
And that's kind of what I was curious of. When you go shopping, like, would you shop with like a plan, or do you shop like you going in and you're like, I'm just going to let like the treasures find me? Or like, how are you usually kind of working that? And then like, cause you do this full time. So like, what's the balance? Because obviously you got markets, but then are you pretty much like looking always on the hunt? How are you kind of doing all this?
It's hard. I think it's been like a year now, or a little less than a year. I actually picked up a part-time. So like I'm just helping my buddy do, whatever for his construction company, permitting and computer work. So now that's kind of like taken away a little bit for the days. But when I do go out and source, I definitely like, I feel like I'm working 6 to 7 days a week now. So like really no time off, especially with all the traveling and stuff too that I'm doing. But the sourcing process, honestly, like if I go out and look, I'm looking for specific pieces that I know it's going to move. Like I don't really just like let it come to me per se. Like there's specific places I'll go to. I'll do anything from online to in person. I'll do garage sales and stuff, wherever and anywhere like I can find it. I even travel out of state a lot, so like I take a couple of days out of vacation or whatever to go and work and source. My girlfriend hates it, but it's what are we gonna do? we're not doing anything for a day or two, so we'll just go and do that. But it's fun. Like I bring her and stuff. I'm trying to get her to help me a lot more, because she knows what I sell, kind of, but like I want her to help me a little bit more because I feel like it's fun. Like I feel like it's something that we can do together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like it's just wherever I can find it, I'll go and pick it up, and it has to be a good deal where I can be like, okay, like I'll buy this watch for X amount and I'll sell it for this amount. Especially like non-working. A lot of people like to sell non-working a little higher, and I'm just like, I don't know if I want to risk this much money for this product because I'm not gonna know if it's gonna work or not.
Correct.
Then now I'm gonna sell this non-working watch for like, I don't want to sell it for like $30. Like that doesn't make any sense. Just to get my money back.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely try to keep it under a certain dollar amount when I buy watches, and especially the non-working. But like I've recently dived into paying up a little bit more for specific watches because now like my knowledge is a little more specific, I guess.
Yeah.
I've learned a little bit more. So like I know what things will go for and what watches I can pay up a little bit for because I know like those products will be worth the money. Like let's say an automatic watch, like ones you don't have to replace the battery in. Those are obviously more valuable. Like I'll sell those here and there because it takes a specific person who's going to want to spend the money to buy those watches. So those watches I'll be willing to pay up a little bit more to get and sell just because like they're just nicer pieces in general.
Yeah.
And it's hard because like sometimes I want to keep the watch because like I said, I buy stuff that I would personally wear or like. So that's the hard part. I always tell myself like once I fill up my watch case, I'm gonna do one piece in, one piece out. Like I can't keep them all.
I was gonna ask how much your watch collection has grown since you've gone into this.
So personally, I had I'd say like maybe three or four watches. They were just gifts. They weren't anything crazy. They were just like I don't know if you ever heard MVMT.
Mm-mm.
It was this brand that kind of blew up on Facebook for a little bit. It was like one of those brands. And then I think they eventually blew up, and I believe they were acquired by Movado, if I wasn't mistaken. They still kept their pricing the same and stuff, but those ones I've had as gifts for a little bit. I used to have a bunch of Fossil watches back in the day because, Fossil was really big. Yep. It is coming back now, but it was really big. I don't know where any of those watches are. Those are like after I moved from my parents' house down here, I kind of lost track of those. But now, like, I definitely have like maybe 5 or 6 Seikos that are just sitting there. Like this one right here is like one of my favorites. I'm eventually going to sell this one because this is a stepping stone into a different model that I want. But yeah, I mean, like as far as the selling collection, I definitely started really small, like maybe like a baggie full of watches for the table and like those Amazon watch displays, and eventually it grew a little bit more. I took up like maybe like a full 4x6 table, like the smaller ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, since I've pivoted, it's literally a whole, the 6-foot table of watches.
Yeah.
And then the 4x6 or whatever is full of the display cases or like the newer inbox stuff. And I recently just bought a display case, like a glass display case with the sliding door.
Okay.
For the bigger shows and stuff to display like those nicer pieces or the inbox pieces. I don't bring that case out too much to other markets because it's just easier to bring for a bigger event. Well, that too, because like we have to transport it in the box it came in.
Yeah,
like, I can't just put the case into the thing because it's glass or like plexiglass, so it's kind of harder.
No, I get that. So one thing I've been intrigued on, and I'm just kind of curious, a few things on this world of, because like talking with Grant and just kind of like always just kind of listening and just seeing all the different things from like TPD markets and other type of markets. There's a lot of resellers and a lot of different like brand doing vintage and doing things like that. And it feels like every person's got like their own like little niche, like, and so like, I'm just kind of curious of like, because I know at one point, like you said, you were doing some Disney sweaters and Disney stuff. And I saw on like, even on your Instagram, like you did have some of that stuff. So like I'm always kind of curious, like, is that kind of one of those where like, is that part of it? Like, just because obviously I don't know the culture that well, I'm like, is that kind of how it is? Like everyone's got like their own little kind of like niche of like what they're known for, or do you have some people that just like, I just sell anything and everything?
So I feel like that was a big question when I first started as well. Because I didn't necessarily know what I was gonna pick out. Like I said, like I just picked out stuff that I thought was gonna sell or stuff that I liked. Now there are people who deep dive into their own niche, and there's people who kind of sell a little bit of everything. I started out with the little niche, and I feel like I still kind of lean into it a little bit more. I'm big on anime, and I know like cartoons and like just nostalgia in general kind of play a part when people buy stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, the generation that I grew up in, like, we're probably the most nostalgic generation, because like I feel like everything was just like so fast for us that we grew up through like, I don't know, like 50 generations worth of like technology from where we start, like when we were kids to now. And like that played a big part in what I bought as far as like clothing and stuff like that. But I feel like everybody who kind of leans into their stuff, like they know what markets to go to. So that was a really hard thing for me to trying to figure out too, like where's my crowd. So I tried different markets and stuff. But like a lot of people do like Y2K clothing is really hot right now. So a lot of people lean into that. I feel like a lot of the, you know, I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this, but I feel like the vintage scene is just a bunch of people that sell and trade each other the same shirts. It's a big circulation, honestly. Like that's why I never really like dived into it too much as far as like curating these heavily sought after pieces, because the average consumer is not going to buy it. The average consumer will buy the $30 piece and under, you know. Anything above that, there has to be a reason.
Yeah.
And anything that I usually have that's over 30, there I would say like it falls into that non-consumer, like regular consumer piece. Like I have a couple band t-shirts, I have some older like NASCAR stuff, but outside of that, like my higher priced items are gonna be like jackets and outerwear.
Yeah.
And I'm originally from up north, so I always gravitated to a little bit more, and they always had a little better profit margin anyway. But I gravitated to them more because like they just appeal to me, and I always picked up like really cool jackets or, you know, what have you. And those are the pieces that the average consumer will purchase at a higher rate.
Yeah.
Only because like, you know, it's an outerwear, it's not a t-shirt or anything like that.
Yeah. I'm always also intrigued by the fact of, because if you really think about it, like you said, you take care of it. You're cleaning these watches and timepieces, but you also kind of have to research everything. So I'm assuming it does take a little bit, because you're going to have to figure out a little bit more about it, like the story of it, or at least know enough about it. So when someone picks up and asks you about it, you can at least give them some information of like, oh yeah, this is what it is. And at the same time, also the idea of pricing, like trying to figure out like, you know, what is it? How much is it actually worth? Where can I actually, if someone were to look it up, do you have like a point of contact or a person that like helps you with like repairing of the watches? Like, do you ever try to repair, or is it just usually like, let me change the battery and see, you know, because obviously sometimes it may cost you a little bit to fix it, but then obviously if it's a working watch, it's going to be worth more than that.
Right. So it's actually really funny. Like I I make sure everything's clean, like myself. Like I'm gonna deal with it, and like I'm gonna have to store it. Like I want to make sure it's clean. So anytime I get watches and stuff, like I'll wipe them down. I'll make sure like it's just, you know, sanitized. I make sure they work. So, like I do all the batteries and stuff myself. If they don't work with the battery, great, that sucks. It goes into a bag. I currently have 4 USPS flat rate boxes full of non-working watches, and then I have another small tote and gallon baggie of non-working watches that I've separated. So those are like my project watches, and I've been a little overzealous about it. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'll pick up a watch and be like, oh, like I'll fix this. Like I'll get around to it, and it just piles up. But there are a couple pieces where I have just recently brought over to a person to fix it. It's this guy out in Castleberry. But as far as the watches that I have here that I'm saving as projects for myself, they're not worth the value to go and bring. They're
Yeah.
nice watches and stuff because they're Seikos and Citizens and just nicer pieces, like really clean pieces, that I want to eventually fix up and sell. I don't want to just sell them broken. I can,
Yeah.
but I'll sell them for less than what they would be worth. And they're really nice pieces. That's why I put them to the side.
And so then it's something that you actually you gotten so
Yeah.
far now into it that you're like, I want to learn how to fix watches myself, because obviously that's more money in your pocket if you could fix it and figure it out yourself.
You know, a little more time consuming and stuff. Like,
yeah,
don't get me wrong, it's fun. Like, I love it, but definitely more time consuming than the average like reseller. Like, I've already like thought about it. Like, it's, you know, when you resell and stuff, like a lot of people don't wash their clothes and they don't clean the product up, whatever. Like, I make sure everything's clean. Like, I definitely wash everything that I thrift. Same thing with the watches. Like, I'll wipe them down and make sure they're clean and at least presentable. I haven't really like deep dived into like super cleaning and polishing and all that stuff, because like super cleaning, I'll do it. Like, I just bought a ultrasonic cleaner to help clean for like the bracelets and stuff. Like, I'll replace bands if I have any spare parts and stuff. But as far as like deep diving into servicing and cleaning it, that's the next step. Like, I've bought some tools for it already, the ultrasonic cleaner being one. But that's basically get all like the extra dirt and grime out, and that should help, you know, brighten it up a little bit. But I will not polish. If it's something super valuable, I'm not going to do it, because a lot of people like the patina, which is like just like the wear and tear on a watch, and they like that old look, because like, you know, this watch has already been through a life with somebody. Now this next person is gonna wear this watch and give it more life. And a lot of people like the old look because they know that it's been through stuff. And some people don't, and that's fine. And I want the customer to go ahead and make that decision if they're gonna clean it up, or clean up the dial, place the crystal, or buff the crystal out, buff out any of the bracelet, stuff like that. Because like at the end of the day, like if I buff it out too much, like I can buff out like the plating, or, you know, what have you. So I don't want to do that, because already the stuff is already like worn. So some of the plating is coming off on some pieces, not everything. But yeah, like it's just, I feel like it takes away from the value for me personally. But again, it does take away from the value for another person who wants it all super clean and nice looking, you know? So that it does take a specific type of person to buy these watches, or like buy some of the older pieces that are like really nice. Because if it's like scratched up or scuffed up, they're gonna be like, oh, like, will you take X amount because it's all like this? I'm like, well, no, that's the value of the watch is the value of the watch, you know?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like, I feel like my watch, again, my prices are pretty fair. And I'm here to move stuff. So, you know, if you're nice, I'll work out a deal with you. That's fine. But, you know, I can only work out so much. Now if somebody gives me an attitude like, oh, it's all scuffed up though, I'm like, I'm not going to give you a deal, because you're just being a jerk. You know, like
exactly.
I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Like, my prices are the prices. And if you find it somewhere else for cheaper, fine.
Fantastic.
That's fine. You know, I put in the work to clean and make them work. You're paying for my time.
Exactly. So I found interesting, because when especially since how you started to where you are now with timepieces, how did you come up with the name Time to Get Thrifty, and it actually somehow still evolved to where it was?
I honestly don't even know how it fell into place. Like, I picked the name, and I've also started with a different logo than what I have now. So when I first picked it, I designed it and stuff, and I kind of just went with like what I liked at the time, I guess. Like I watched a lot of Rick and Morty, like, you know, Time to Get Thrifty. Like, but it kind of like, I was like, oh, Time to Get Thrifty is pretty cool. Or even Get Thrifty. I wanted to do Get Thrifty initially. Like, that was my main thing. And then when I looked into it, somebody already had the name on Instagram, and I was like, great, like, whatever. It's gonna be like, you know, a hassle to try to get this name going. So I even tried like doing like, you know, the underscore and all that stuff. All that stuff was taken. So I was like, fine, what else can I put my Instagram as? So I did Time to Get Thrifty, just to add the addition, just to have the Get Thrifty in it still. I still did my name on the profile as Get Thrifty, so I went by that for a little bit. And after I started doing watches, I was like, you know what, we'll take the whole name, we'll do the whole name. And everybody's like, your name is so long, but I'm like, it's fine. I feel like
that's what it is.
It is what it is. It falls into everything that I do. So it was kind of nice, like to be like, oh wow, like I had this name, and I kind of just fell into the watches. So then I changed my logo up to make it a little more, a little nicer, a little more refined for the brand. Everybody needs a nice logo for the brand. So I hit up my buddy Owen. He designed it for me. I was like, hey, look, I want to not fall out of clothing, but I want to
Yeah.
incorporate like the watch piece into
It's great. The fact that it looks
the
like a
thing.
watch, and then like you have the hanger aspect of it, and
Yeah.
it's clean, man. It's very clean. I love it. It's a great logo for it. So no, I thought it was interesting because I was like, man, I'm like, what are the odds that you like literally called it before you even, without even knowing it, that you were gonna fall into that. So which I love that. What do you think is a common myth about thrifting that you want to bust and kind of let people know? Because some people may have certain misconceptions or concepts about thrifting. What are some common myths or something that you want to bust today?
All right, I would say there's like maybe two things.
Okay.
Or yeah, like two or three. The first one being, I would say that a grill. So a grill in the thrifting world is like, just like the holy grail. Like it's like a super phenomenal piece that you found, highly valuable, highly rare, like super rare. I feel like it's all subjective, very subjective, because like somebody's grill is not my grill. Like cool, that t-shirt that you found is, I don't know, like original Kiss tee from whatever year the tour was. And it's like thousands of dollars, whatever. For me, like I don't like, that's not for me. Like a grill for me would be like, I don't know, like a Taco Bell t-shirt, original Taco Bell t-shirt from the 90s. Like, like for me, that's because I like that. And like, I'd be like, oh my God, this is like great. I actually have 3 in my closet right now. But it's one of those things where like, it's very highly subjective. Everybody likes what they like. But I feel like when they put these price tags on it, it's for the collector. It's for a collector. It's not for the average consumer.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like I've heard and seen things off of like when ThriftCon came to Orlando, there was a huge Reddit post about it, and people just like knocked it down a couple inches, even though it's like one of the biggest traveling thrift conventions in the United States. I mean, like they even started doing international stuff, but they were like, oh my God, the t-shirts were, everything was so expensive, the clothing is so expensive. But that's because like the average person, the average Joe, isn't part of like that scene, so they don't know specifically. They're not knowledgeable to be like, oh, that's why this is valuable and why it's priced like this, versus like this is like something I can just find elsewhere for X amount.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part when people come and shop, because like the average person, the normal person, is not going to know the value of something and question why it is so high. I recently went to Milk Mart. You were there.
Yeah.
And I had a watch pendant, like a little necklace pendant. It's 14K gold plated, but it is stainless steel base. So like, just underneath is stainless steel, and it's quartz, so it's battery powered. Somebody was like, oh, like I feel, or can you do a little better on this? Like I feel like your price, or I think I had it for like 150 or something like that. She's like, can you do a little better? Like I feel like it's a little bit much for like a plated watch and stainless steel, whatever. And then she's giving me a little bit of attitude. I was like, well, no, I mean, like I can knock like maybe $20 off, but that's about it. Like I can't do it anymore, because it was for her daughter. Her daughter wanted it, but I was like, I can't do it anymore. She's like, really? Like that's it? Just for like, it's like stainless steel? And I'm like, go and find this somewhere else and tell me that it's going to be worth whatever. Like she was asking like at least 50% off, and I was like, go find this somewhere else for that price and let me know.
Yeah.
Because I'll buy it. And it's like one of those things where it's like the value of it is that, because you don't see this stuff now like too much nowadays. Nobody really makes watch pendants nowadays, and it's one of those more rarer pieces, like, and it's working. So like that's the hard part with dealing with like customers sometimes, because they don't really like, they don't really know, because they're not in the know. A watch person will come by and they'll know stuff, and they'll be like, oh, your price is really good, or I haven't seen this watch in forever, stuff like that. But the average consumer, they'll just see the price tag and be like, oh my God, I'll pass, or what have you, unless they really fell in love with it.
Yeah.
So that was one thing. I mean, the other thing is like resellers are scum of the earth. And honestly, like, cool, the reseller that goes into the thrift shop or the Goodwill and buys like 5 pieces and leaves is the scum of the earth. Whereas after X amount of time in Goodwill or in the bins, it's going to go to a landfill. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. These people are saving these pieces to move on to the next person. And don't get me wrong, like, there are definitely people who take advantage of the situation, you know, and overprice things like really crazy. Like,
yeah.
But there are those people that, like, if you do take the time to go and look and shop, you're going to find some good deals on a lot of good stuff. I feel like the average person doesn't necessarily take the time unless you're really into thrifting. And that's why, like, those videos and reviews and, you know, Reddit posts, that's where they all come from. They don't necessarily see everything else. Like, you'll see the one piece, oh my God, $60 for this t-shirt, and they don't go through the rest of the rack, or, you know, they don't go walk around anywhere else. So that's the other hard part for that. And I feel like it's a big issue when it comes to like selling or like farmers markets and stuff, because people are always like trying to haggle. And like, do you really go to, like, are you gonna go to Starbucks or Macy's or GameStop and haggle down a price there? You know, like, it's not.
Nope.
It doesn't work like that.
Not at all. But they all want to, when they see you at a tent, that they're like, I can haggle with you.
Yeah. All right. How about 2 for $20? And like,
yeah,
no, like, you can't.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You know, I'll cut deals. Like, I always have a multiple piece deal when I do the watches. It's $5 off each additional watch, as long as it's over $15, and that gravitates people, or it brings people into buy multiple pieces.
Yeah.
But like, if you're trying to get like 50% off of something, like, no, you know, now you're cutting into my time that I've put into finding and getting this, you know, piece or whatever. I've always wanted.
Go on. I'm sorry. You've always wanted.
I've always wanted to have some people like, I found this watch for this much and cheaper, or this much here for whatever. I've always wanted to be like, oh, let me see that. And then just like buy it on my phone and be like, well, now it's not available. Like, if it's like worth it, like, you know, like,
yeah.
But like, you know, that's just me being petty. But like, outside of that, like, it's a blessing and a curse to do these markets in person sometimes.
I agree with you. Do you think because there's so many, because there is a larger, at least I see a larger amount of like people selling vintage and resellers, mm-hmm. do you think that's kind of what's led to the idea of like Goodwill prices being higher as well? Because some things are a lot more expensive than they used to be when you would go to Goodwill for certain things.
Yeah.
Because I guess they're noticing it or seeing it as well.
Right. So, you know, these companies aren't dumb. I feel like there are so many people who do vintage and stuff nowadays. That was also part of the reason why I started trying to differentiate myself, because like, I'm like, what else can I do to not be like everybody else? And this is one thing. And I feel like I started a fire under some people, because like, I definitely started seeing people start selling watches more. And I definitely influenced a lot of like things. I don't know, not to toot my own horn, but like, I feel like I've seen it since I started doing the watches. Don't get me wrong, there's like a couple people who have been doing it before that, but they didn't sell working watches. But yes, businesses, corporations, they're not dumb. They see the trend. They're just like everybody else. They know how to follow the trend and, you know, roll with the punches. They're going to increase the prices because, one, they want more profit. Stuff is more expensive in general, so like, I'm sure the cost of operation is more expensive. But at the end of the day, like, you know, they know sometimes stuff slips through the cracks. They know what to kind of look out for and price a little higher. But it's really funny because like, they do miss stuff, but then two, they also overprice stuff that people aren't going to pick up. Yeah, you know, like it's crazy. But yeah, I feel like reselling culture has really popped off. There's a lot more resellers out there. There's a lot more vintage kids out there. Orlando's very oversaturated with that, and I feel like in general, like it's oversaturated with markets as well.
Yep.
There's so many markets that are happening now and popping up all over the place because everybody sees it as a good money grab. It's let me collect this money from these vendors and move on with my day. They don't really care about the community and stuff like that. But they find out quick and fast that it's not easy, because you don't see a lot of these markets do a second market, a third market.
Yep.
But, you know, there's so many markets and so little people. You know what I mean? Orlando's huge.
There's only so much money. There's only so much money to go around after a certain point, and then everyone starts growing. And I, it's like almost like a double-edged sword, right? Because like you have the aspect of like you're a small business, so what's the best way to do it when you're starting out? Try to do a market, but then you sometimes some of these markets are so competitive, it's hard for you to go to a market. So then you try to find another someone who also give you a chance, but maybe that market is new and it doesn't have as much of a foot traffic. So it's like a balance of trying to figure out. And obviously we've been doing this for a bit, so it's kind of like it's a little bit different in our world because we've been doing it for so long that we're like, man, there's just too many markets out there.
There's too many markets, and you don't really know where you want to go vend either. Because like you want to try this new one, but you don't know if it's gonna be good. They claim that they're gonna get all these people, but then you show up and they don't. There's markets that you go to that are tried and true that it's gonna be good. There's definitely like a big three in Orlando. I would say.
Yeah.
That I know I can consistently do well at. And then, you have all these local markets that happen every week. I love the local markets because like, you get your average customer, your returning customer, people who are just passing through depending on where you're at. I've heard good things about what the Orlando makers at Lake Nona. I've heard good things about that because it's right next to Boxing Park. But I've also heard bad things about it. It just depends on who you talk to.
I've heard the same thing. Mixed reviews. I've heard mixed reviews, and some of them obviously also kind of goes the route of the entry point. Like, how much is it going to cost me to sell there?
Right.
And then maybe tapering your expectations based on that. Like if it's only $25, okay, maybe but if it's 50, you're spending over $100.
Yeah.
And you're at $150, then I'm expecting to make my 150 plus.
Right.
Back.
Yeah. No, it's true. Cause like, I feel like a lot of these prices are very predatory, especially for a small business. That's why I really like doing like, TPD night market, Thursday and Friday nights. I'm always out there, weather permitting. Of course, we live in Florida, but it's $30 to be there. I'll sell like 1 or 2 watches and I'm make my money. Like what am I going to do on a Thursday, Friday night other than like be at home? Go out and spend money. Like I'd rather just go out and try to make
some money. Yeah, for sure.
And that's nice because like that specific one, there's definitely good days and bad days, as everybody knows, but it's like about being consistent. So like if you go there and you don't do too well, I would say do it again, because like as with any market, because like being consistent, I know that market could be really good and it can bring out some big sales because you don't know who's gonna be walking around. You get the average Joe from the apartment next door that's gonna come walk through. You get people walking through the park. You get tourists all the time over there. Like it's just one of those things where like it's heavy foot traffic on any given day, I would say. But like obviously there's better days than most. But like, and depending on like what's going on downtown or what have you. But like it's about consistency. And I feel like a lot of people who do a bunch of different shows, they don't know, they get spoiled, let's say. You do this one show, like let's say you do Milk Mart for your second or third show. You're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Let me go do this small market. You make like $100 and you're like, oh my God, this sucks. I don't want to come back. But like the expectations have to be real.
Yeah.
And the only way you're going to know how to curve your expectations is to do markets more consistently, try out different markets. And I feel like giving the small markets a chance. Like, yeah, it's weekly. Yeah, it kind of like makes it hard to get new customers depending on where you're at. But if it's promoted well and if it's like, done right, then it'll reach more people. But you really just gotta, kind of pick and choose your battles and know not to give up.
I like that. I got a few more questions for you. One, I'm curious on, not for you to share all your secrets, and I know it's competitive, but like, do you have like a go-to strategy for finding like your best pieces? Like, is it one of those things like you go early morning, you go to like, digging through stuff, like, whether it's like a estate sale or a garage sale? Is it talking to people, like talking to folks or places that you kind of know, like, hey, some of these stores or some of these places I can get good pieces? Like what's something that you kind of been able to learn along the way, without sharing too many of your secrets? Because obviously I don't want you to share the good.
Right.
I don't want people taking your pieces away, but
that's hard.
I'm just kind of curious.
That is, I feel like, just touching on that really quick.
Yeah.
That is a hard thing with social media right now. Everybody wants to blow up. Everybody wants to become famous. Everybody wants to become viral. So everybody is sharing their secrets. The average influencer is finding these spots and blowing it up. I hate that. And that is the one thing that is so dumb for people to do. Why are you ruining your own market? You know what I mean? Like, even when you're selling, these kids get stuff from the bins and stuff at like whatever $1 a pound, and it's like, you know, this t-shirt costs them $1, or this Coach purse costs them $1, and they're gonna sell this Coach purse for $20. Now you're undercutting yourself and everybody else, but now you're ruining your own market because you could be pricing it for so much more, and the consumer is gonna expect that, and that's where a lot of these expectations came from. So that's the hard part. Nobody's on the same page. Everybody's trying to make a quick buck. Don't get me wrong, fast nickel over slow dime. You know, at the end of the day, like, price your stuff accordingly, because you're just undercutting yourself at the end of the day. Yeah. And it's going to be harder to sell, and, you know, whatever, as the prices go up in the goodwill. It's all a circle. But getting back to the main subject, there isn't, everybody asks me this, like, where I get all my stuff. And I say anywhere and everywhere you can think of, because that's really the true answer. Like, it's not me gatekeeping. It's not whatever. Like, there is no real answer to how you source your things. It's about being consistent, and it's just about, you know, having the drive to want to go do it. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm lazy too. Like, I want to sleep in, you know, like, garage sales, estate sales, yeah, they're great. Again, you have a lot of competition here in Orlando, so depending on where you live, where you go, it's going to be very different for you. My main strategy is just to do my research on the estate sales. If I'm going to go do that, let's say that. If I'm going to do estate sale, I'll do my research, see what's, you know, what they post on the pictures. Go there. If I do garage sales, or I go there early, like super early. If I do garage sales, again, maybe 30 minutes before the garage sale starts, etc. A lot of people don't like that, like when people show up, but like some people do. But if I do garage sales, the one thing that I try to do is community sales. I don't like doing garage sales and hopping around. If it's a community sale, great. I can be within this one vicinity. Spot
and then just kind of go and get.
Yeah, because I'm not going to drive here and there and not find anything, and like it doesn't make any sense for me. I feel like I am I would say a lazy sourcer. So, you know, I will definitely take my specific days to do it, and I procrastinate to when I have to restock, I'd say. But like it's, you know, it's been working, but like I'm definitely trying to be more on top of like just consistently finding stuff, because like stuff moves so fast now that I'm just like, oh my god, I need
another one.
Keep getting stuff. I'll even try online. Online is my lazy sourcing. But then of course you're gonna pay up a little bit more. You know, you're gonna pay more for those prices, because like now you got tax, now you got shipping, etc. Yeah, and that's the same thing. I get that from anywhere. I'm not gonna say specifically where online, but like
no. That's everywhere. That's you know, kind of makes sense. So let's talk about putting things into the universe. I'm a big fan of having people be able to kind of like manifest their stuff out there. So I kind of want you to be able to think and share and put out into the universe. What do you want for Time to Get Thrift?
I think what I want and what I've been building towards is getting a following, getting my social media presence going, so that I can eventually move all that towards a website and have people just purchase on there. I will do in-person markets, but I don't want to solely rely on that as much. And, you know, I can only bring so much inventory out, especially with the nicer pieces, because like, or stuff that's over $50, because like, I mean, you know, I only have so much room in my display case.
Yep.
I would love to bring everything out. I mean, that'd be great, but you know, it's not realistically possible. So I want to get that website going, which ideally I want to get done for Q1, sometime in Q1. And have people just drive people into that and purchase off of there for like the nicer pieces and stuff. I will still do in-person markets, just maybe not as much if it rolls well, just because like, you know, the in-person thing, it just has that personal touch, you know. And I'm not gonna sell stuff that's like under $50 like on the site, just because like it's easier just to move in person. Yeah, you know, it's a lot quicker. But that, and then eventually get a bigger space so I can have an office and maybe do the whatnot shows, because you know, I've done all the training and whatever and the application process when whatnot first started. I never did it. I eventually might just do it, just because like I have so much excess inventory that I'm not going to use, or it's not going to be worth putting on the table. It's just going to take up space. So like if I can do that and just move stuff in bulk, or, you know, what have you, then that'd be great. And then again, drive that traffic into
the website.
Like,
So yeah, I'm kind of curious because we kind of briefly talked about that, about
yeah,
the whatnot. Because I was curious. That was one of the questions I asked before we even started about it. Was like, because I've talked to some other vendors, and they've all kind of told me, they're like, hey, you need to have like a, they're like, you need to have a TikTok shop, you need to do TikTok live, you need to do whatnot. And I know that's like the huge trend, obviously, that we're kind of behind, but I know in like Japan and China, they do quite a bit. It's almost like home shopping,
yeah.
just online selling. And I was kind of curious about that, especially with the pieces that you have, that you say you have so many pieces
Yeah.
that are not even if they're not working, but they're beautiful pieces. Those are easy ones to kind of go. And I was kind of curious about like if you were thinking of kind of going in that route, because that's something that I've thought of, that I kind of need to I'm going to have to evolve to in order to kind of grow this. So that's why I was curious what your thoughts were on it.
No, I mean, like, everybody online shops. Amazon's huge. Everybody online shops from the comfort of their own home, and that's what people like. Don't get me wrong, like there's cons to it. Like, what if it doesn't fit you? What if it's too small? What if it's too big? In terms of clothing and watches, jewelry, your size, like, that's a little easier, but like not everything fits the same. But I feel like it is a big move for a lot of small businesses to do. The only issue is the cut that comes out of it. So now, like, just as you're paying a vendor fee to go and do, X amount, at least that's a flat dollar fee. Now you're cutting a percentage into your sales and stuff. And like, it comes with the territory, whatever. Like, you're gonna eventually have to pay, like, sales tax and stuff too. But you're now cutting, like, I don't know, it depends on where you're selling, like how big of a percentage it's gonna be. But it is a trend that I feel like everybody needs to hop on, especially if like you have maybe stale product. Like, that's the easiest way to start it. Because like on Whatnot, everybody's looking for a deal. Everybody's looking for the cheapest thing they can get for the cheapest price, or the best thing they can get for the cheapest price. If Whatnot taught me one thing, it's how cheap I can be. When you're looking for a deal, like, I want the deals that are like $1 starts, $3 starts, stuff like that. People who sell things at set prices, I feel like, do have a little bit of a harder time if you don't have the views or the following. So that's the hard part with Whatnot, I'd say. If you're doing Whatnot, I would definitely say run all your stale inventory at discount prices. A lot of people start, $1 to $10 starts, and that's the easiest way to move things, especially if you have a little nicer product, and then have stuff in your shop that's going to be, your set prices or whatever that you want to sell, and be okay with like taking whatever percentage off for Whatnot to take. I haven't dived into the TikTok live stuff, but I know that is a thing too. Even eBay hopped on the live auctions train after Whatnot blew up. So like, I feel like everything is moving towards that in a sense, because if people are at home, like, people are on their phones all the time. So either they're on the computer, they're on their phone, they're just scrolling through stuff, they're just window shopping even. Like, it's a huge part of like today's culture. It's really bad, but I feel like as a small business, like, you kind of have to like grow into it. And I eventually will probably start doing the Whatnot stuff. Maybe not the TikTok live stuff, but as far as posting videos and content, TikTok would probably be really good to start putting stuff on there.
Yeah.
And I tell my girlfriend too, I'm like, because she does food videos and whatever, I'm like, you need to post, if you're posting on Instagram or wherever else, cross post everywhere. The same content, doesn't matter if it's like the same or what. Instagram,
that's what I've been doing.
Was it TikTok and YouTube Shorts? Those are the big three that I feel like if you're gonna post anything, do it across the three, the same video, doesn't matter. And then just like move like that, because like there's no way a person can make 3 separate videos for 3 separate platforms. That's so hard. So yeah, I feel like that's definitely a big thing. I mean, if you're gonna do it, I say you can absolutely do it. Like, if you have stuff that's been sitting around for a while and you want to, like, I don't know, 50% off, whatever you want to do, just throw it on there.
That's why I do mystery shirts.
Those are always good too. People
all my stuff that I either have or hasn't like either didn't do as well as I expected, or I have more of than I think I should, and I kind of want to reduce some.
Yeah,
I'll just start putting it into mystery shirts, and that's kind of where my mystery bin came from, because I was like, this will be an easy way to make some money back, and people love a mystery.
People love a mystery. People love gambling.
Yes, they do. They do.
People love gambling. So
They do.
that's what, there's actually a lot of shows on Whatnot. Like I go on it pretty frequent just to like, it's good for research. Let's say that.
I'm gonna start watching it because I think I need to kind of learn a little bit more about it and whatnot. But that's why I was curious when you mentioned that you had you kind of taken some classes and stuff like that. I figure I'd pick your brain and let other people hear it.
So like when you sign up for Whatnot, they actually make you go through the application process. They make you sit through like their little 10-minute video training course, and then they have all this material for you to like just, it's at your disposal. But you have to sit through like their little 10-minute like talk session or whatever, and then you're pretty much good to go. I don't know if they change it yet, like now, like what the requirements are now, but like it's really good for research just to see like what's trending, how people are selling, etc. Like I'll go in there and just watch sometimes. Like I won't buy, just to see like what's moving. But as far as like selling, there's definitely a couple of things that like I can definitely give you some tips of like how people are doing it and like what's the easiest way to, I guess, like organize everything. Like for me, another big one was like if I go into a shop or if I go into a stream that has stuff listed in their shop as far as like what's going to go on auction with pictures, that's great. If I go into a place that doesn't have it, now I have to commit time to actually sit there and just watch it versus like seeing what they have. Oh, I don't want anything, I'm moving on. So like you have to know like, is it going to be worth it for me to sit here and watch like what they're going to sell?
Yeah.
And there's a couple of shows that I will, just because like they know, or I know that they have like stuff that I've bought previously or what have you, But yeah, definitely, I would definitely look into it. If you have any questions, like I can give you a couple of tips because I
love it.
A frequent flyer.
What advice do you have for someone wanting to start something?
Consistency, 100% consistency. There's good days and bad days. It's a lot of bad days starting out for sure. I mean, even now, don't get in your head because like you could definitely burn yourself out or like just get into a really deep place that you're like, oh my God, like that you can't crawl out of, let's say. Cause like, like it's hard doing any small business. Cause like, yeah, you can have like I said, like you can have really great days, that you're like, oh my God, like this is great. But then you get the bad days where you're like, making sales or, stuff doesn't go your way, stuff breaks, etc. But like just being consistent and knowing like there's days better than, you could be in a better off situation, or sorry, you can be in a worse off situation.
Yeah.
That you just kind of want to stay positive. I feel like people don't think about that too much because they're like seeing everybody be successful and make all this money, whatever. And they think it's gonna be a quick buck or like easy to do. It's not easy to do. It's a lot of work. And depending on how much work you put in, you're gonna see the results. So being consistent is definitely number one.
I love it. No, I think that's so true. And I think just consistently doing it, even though sometimes you feel like you're not gaining any traction, but it does build up momentum as you kind of go. So I definitely believe that. Where can people follow you and shop and support you?
Follow me on Instagram. It's timetogetthrifty_. If you want to see me in person, I usually post my Instagram or post my monthly schedule up every month on Instagram. And I do sell off of my stories as well. So like I'll post any new pieces that I get, especially like the nicer ones, on my story. So Instagram always sees it first before it comes out to market. So it's first dibs on Instagram and it's first come, first serve. So like you gotta be payment ready. Like I can't, you can't be like, oh, can you hold this for me? I can't do that. So like people will purchase off of my story and then just pick up in person, or if they want me to ship it to them, I'll ship it to them. They just have to pay for shipping. That's all. But other than that, like stay tuned for the website.
Yeah,
because the website's gonna come.
I love it. No, I think that's great to be able to do. And I think it'd be awesome, especially with like all the stuff that you have, like the inventory of the pieces, even like the lower end ones, those still, I mean, that's money. That's quick money that if you're not able to put it on sell it at an event, you can actually sell it on your website and then be able to have people have a bundle, or you can kind of do a variety of different things. So you'll definitely have some good aspects, not to mention your higher end watches you can also sell as you go, or pieces that your collector's pieces that you're kind of finding.
Yeah.
Tommy, I really appreciate you taking the time, man. I've enjoyed this year getting to hang out with you during, the past year, hanging out when we did markets and everything. And I love seeing kind of the evolution of you getting into watches and doing all of that. I think it's it's appropriate that it's time to get thrifty. I think it's great. Thank you so much for being on, man. I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you having me, man. It was great when you hit me up to do the podcast. Like I was like, oh, cool. I've made it
No,
Biggie's invited me to this podcast.
I appreciate that. No, man, I'm always curious. Like, I just find it so interesting because there's so many different, like, especially in vintage and so many different areas. There's so many interesting concepts of like how people started, why they started, what it kind of evolved in the business and everything. And I think that's to me the part that I gravitate towards because I'm always kind of curious on like, how did you get into this and then why did you get into this? And the cool thing is like in the future, you and I may have another conversation when you start building your clothing brand. You know what I mean? Like that, you know, and who knows, maybe that's where it may go there, or it may just kind of you create a watch empire where you're like, hey, I'm actually creating my own, and instead of designing clothes, I'm designing my own watches.
That'd be
cool. Who knows?
Because these micro brands are being pretty big right now. Because there's so many that's popping up now because watches are super hot again.
Yep,
everybody's getting them. But yeah, these micro brands are good, and like there's definitely some good ones out there. So I mean, shoot, that would be really cool. That's like a whole nother thing though, like outside of clothing. Like, it's the mechanics of everything.
For sure, man, for sure. But yeah, as you learn and grow, that's kind of how it goes. Well, that's our show for today. Thank you so much to Tommy of Time to Get Thrifty to being on the show, having lunch break with me. Make sure to check them out online. If you see them at a market or you see something in their stories, get ready to buy. Because he's always got good stuff, finding good things and sharing. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe, share. If you love this story, tell people about it. Share the podcast episode with them. If you want to support me, check out my brand, Deli Fresh Threads. Obviously, sandwich selfies always expected and definitely appreciated. Thank you. Until next time, keep eating sandwiches and follow your passion. Thanks, everyone.